Namaste, everyone. I'm going to call upon the high spirit guides to surround me at this time. I'm going to call upon the archangels. Archangel Michael is to my left. Archangel Raphael is to my right. Ahead of me is Archangel Metatron. Behind me is Archangel Sandalphon. Above me is the feet of Guru Ram Das. Below me is the feminine energy of Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. I am in a Merkaba energy, white shimmering gold Merkaba, 5-pointed star. I am immense healing, I am immense clarity, I am immense self-empowerment, I am immense love, strength of the universe. I call upon, again, my spirit guides. Call upon my soul, my oversoul to be present with me. I call upon my authenticity to fully emerge into this body. I allow myself to become the total authentic embodiment now and forevermore. Call upon the Trinity energy, the Trinity spin clockwise, moving all around me, my Merkaba spinning at the speed of light clockwise all around me to replenish, rejuvenate, and electrify my auric field so that my auric field is bold, my auric field is expansive, full of light, radiance, and magnetism so that I may attract the wealth of the universe into my crown chakra, into my body, through my nervous system, coming in from the soft spot on top of the head into my nervous system. Archangel Michael, with his royal gas stove blue, flaming silver sword, cuts through any weeds, debris that's in my aura now, so that my aura, my psyche, my projection is very sharp like the blade of Archangel Michael, so that I can penetrate the density of planet Earth with striking strength. I call upon Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene below me to uplift me higher, wiser. May I be a very tall tree with expansive branches. May I touch the universe with my top branches. May I know the communion between land and sky with my deep roots below my feet, my lower body, and my high branches called my arms and my head that are extended out, up into the universe. And my heart is the center of my grounded expression. The heart is the center of my home. The heart is my essence, my true belonging. The heart is my greatest electromagnetic fields that can attract, manifest, and realize realities of higher potential. I'm in community now with these archangels. My intention is to provide all of the people who will watch this guidance that is uplifting, that is inspiring, and that is full of clarity, that can help people on their journey through life, through Earth at this time, to realize their higher potential and to spiritually, emotionally mature and grow so that they can find their harmony, their balance, their equilibrium, so they can live more in tune with their soul and become more soulful, and therefore become joy, radiance in the joy of their soulful projection. In community of the heart, in community of emotional maturity, in community of spiritual alchemy. We alchemize through the community. We alchemize through the heart of the community, the heart of the teacher that is the community, deciding to shed pounds and pounds of facades that we take on from this planet and its temptation and seduction to live in the flesh, solely in the flesh. When we allow that, when we burn through all of the pounds of flesh that we carry and bind ourselves to, we can reawaken, reemerge soulful, light, and endearing, delightful, and sincere to our purpose, our mission, and our great creative will that we would like to execute and to project out into this planet to support, harmonize the ecosystem of planet Earth at this time. So may these Merkaba energy that I have created within my mind's eye, within my visualization, may the archangels above, below, all around me activate and electrify your inner Merkaba at the navel, at the heart, at the third eye, at the auric level, the expansive level, the oversoul level. From the soles of your feet down into the earth, from the top of your head all the way out into the cosmos like lightning. And may this experience of your creative will, your visionary projection guide you to your community, your team, your tribe of soulful intention to harmonize, equalize, and fully become the authentic self. So we're going to shed these pounds now. If we have a lot of pounds of flesh, we're going to let go of this flesh. The flesh that we tie ourselves to, that's weighing us down. We are not the flesh. We're not here to live solely in the flesh. The flesh is a vessel that is all that it is. The flesh is a vessel. The soul is the conductor. The soul is the composer. The flesh is not the conductor. The flesh is not the composer. We're going to burn it out now. We're going to burn it with the fire. We're going to burn it with the fire of Guru Bhajan, or Yogi Bhajan. Guru Ram Das and Yogi Bhajan are here with us now, creating a fire, a royal gas stove blue fire around us, like a burning bush of God in the color of royal gas stove blue, and we're in the center of that burning bush. And we're just going to let that burn through all of the flesh that we carry, all the excess flesh and the dead energy that we're carrying to us, that's creating all of these blockages and barriers and facades that are distancing and disconnecting us from our soulful purpose for being on this planet Earth, from our emotional growth and spiritual maturity and evolution. We're going to burn through that flesh, all of that judgment, shame and judgment, low self-worth. Let's get it out. Let's burn through that flesh. And let's create a space within that skin falling away for the soul to be the composer and the conductor, and to begin to conduct us in a way that brings us into creative will. We're going to call in the Tao. We're going to call in Confucianism. We're going to call in Lao Tzu. These great, great beings who are able to transcend the flesh into the authentic embodiment, into freedom from the flesh, liberation, salvation from the constant seduction, temptation of the judgments and shame and low self-worth that grips us to patterns of thinking and patterns of living that does not inspire or encourage us to rise up as a tree always rises and grows towards the light, towards the blue ethers. Okay. So I feel ready to connect with this transmission that's been wanting to come through me for a while. I wanted to show you how I set up my practice of connecting with my, could say, the Asatchic record, connecting with higher energy. That's kind of what I set up for myself. Okay, so I'm going to allow my higher self, my Asatchic record, to channel through me. And the discussion for today is going to be on sex. Okay, it's going to be on sex. I'm particularly going to be connecting with the man, okay? I'm going to be connecting with the man. Okay, so when man has sex and it is disconnected from the heart and is disconnected from, we can say, the visionary self, the third eye, the higher chakras, he is becoming more of the flesh. That's dangerous for a man. I've seen men who are in their 40s, even people who are older, who are still caught in the flesh. So with men and sex, okay, it is absolutely important that the sex is heartfelt and the sex is intimacy, vulnerability. If it is just purely what, there's this culture of men who have, I like to call it miscellaneous sex, where they're just, they say spilling their seed everywhere kind of thing. All that does is create more flesh around the man. And it kills his feminine energy within himself. So a man is both feminine and masculine. Okay, every single living thing has a feminine and has a masculine energy. Okay, we cannot exist without that companionship within the energetically wise, because woman is about fertility, she is creativity, she is beauty, she's magnetism, she's what pulls particles together into a form, such as pulling energy within her fire, the womb, into a fetus, like a great nebula of all of these particles and these atoms and these ingredients for life being pulled and sucked together by the magnetism of that nebula. And that pull, that magnetism, creates a form, and that form begins to organize, and it gets to organize and organize like a fetus. Eventually, within that nebula, we start to see a new solar system, a sun with planets. That's the same thing as what's going on inside the woman's womb. The woman's womb is just one giant nebula. It's the same thing. And she is pulling together particles, okay, atoms, to create the shape of a fetus inside of her. So she is about magnetism. She is about manifestation, bringing in energy to create form, to create a shape, to create a pattern. Man is about execution. Okay, so both of us need that. We need that. It's very much the woman nurtures the fetus. She pulls in the wealth of the universe to form this fetus, while the masculine part is, I'm going to see this child through. Meaning the child is 3, the child is 7, the child is 10, the child is 25, the child is 45. I'm going to see the child through. I'm going to provide for the child. So the masculine is like the feeling of you're self-reliant, you're self-responsible, you provide. Okay? You take your self-initiated knowledge and you give that to best support the creative success or the creative maturity. Okay, so both of us have that as a man and as a woman, both of us. So particularly focusing on a man, because this is a little different. Men are more dense than women. They're more earthbound than women. Men are a lot more likely to get caught in the flesh than women are. Women are not as likely to be caught in the flesh. And so what does the flesh mean? It just means that you are completely in your animal self. Men are a lot more likely to be in the animal self. Now, there are women who are in the animal self, okay? But men can get a lot more caught into the flesh. And when you're caught in the flesh as a man, basically what happens is you just form a bunch of facades around you. You try to live out those facades. You try to project those facades out into the cosmos to make manifestation based on those facades. But you never truly come into your creative will, your visionary self. So a man's seed is Nikola Tesla, okay? I love Nikola Tesla, and he talks about how he viewed women kind of like succubuses, or he recognized that there are succubuses on this world, okay? And he basically proclaimed that he did not have, sex, possibly celibate, but he had admiration for the feminine energy, but it was more so he had admiration for his own feminine energy, because Nikola Tesla understood that his feminine energy was the one receiving the downloads, the visions, the having the visualizations, having the trance-like state, having the creative will, or the creative capacity to transcribe this authentic code, or this seeming very expansive mind into an actual like written invention. He understood that that was a feminine energy, and his ability to actually project it and put it out there was the execution from the masculine within him, such as you actually making it in a physical, tangible sense, like getting his hands and actually building the mechanics to it, these inventions, okay, the mechanics to it. Okay, and he would provide for himself. He would find a way, find a mean to get the mechanics of this great vision into fruition. Okay, in a physical, sensual, meaning you can hear it, you can hear the tings, the little noises, you can see it, you can maybe have like a smell, or you can feel it. Okay. So when a man, so there's I see a lot of men in their aura, okay? So I'm very connected to my subtle body. That's why I'm very childlike. Children are very connected to their subtle body, okay? So they can really sense things, even sound and light, that is a lot of adults are desensitized to. Okay, it's like a rainbow. Adults only see like red to violet, while children can see like in between the lines kind of thing. They can see a whole spectrum for red, and they can see that whole spectrum for violet and everything in between. And sound, like they can really connect to melodic, rhythmic sound that maybe a lot of adults cannot connect to. So what I see in a lot of men is when men are brought just deeper into their flesh, what happens is it also affects the arc line. Okay, so a lot of time, we use sex because we want to connect with intimacy. We want to connect with our soul. Isn't that, why we see that kind of stuff going on? There's all kinds of stuff going on about that sex stuff. We want to connect with the soul. We want to connect with the ecstatic soul, we call it, the passionate desire to be alive. Okay, we want to connect with something that's really going to electrify our spiritual energy. But when we are together with somebody intimately, what we're doing is we're making you can say, a contract with that person energetically. Okay, energetically we're exchanging. We're transferring our energy. Okay, so, and a lot of us, since we're so, especially men, can be so dense, they don't really even understand what they're doing. So if you are making a contract with yourself as a man that, I'm just going to do it for the hot ride, or, I'm just going to do it to get my rocks off or something like that, and completely not listening to your soul, not listening to your heart, what you're doing is basically you're creating contract with your this woman that you're with, or multiple women, and also with yourself, that you are not available to emotionally mature and spiritually grow. And I've seen men who are still in the flesh. Like, these men are like, dude, come on, wake up, dude. Like, so when a man is solely in the flesh, he lacks creativity. all he has is a facade to keep him going. And usually that facade has a lot of desperation, has a lot of scarcity, has a lot of low self-esteem, and has a lot of indecisiveness and confusion for life, for what I am, what life is. And they don't, a lot of these men, I see them, they're not really going anywhere. Because we, as a soul, came into this physical body, this flesh, because we wanted to move things. We wanted to be moved. We didn't want to take on the weight of the flesh and just kind of sit there and just be a bunch of lies. I see so many people are just projecting all about these lies and completely like disconnected from their heart and soul, just going through the motions of what it means to be a fleshy body. The stench of flesh that's dead is, I don't even know the word to describe that. So flesh becomes dead when we become, basically we set ourselves up where I don't want to, no, my soul, my heart, no, I just want to go through just, and what happens is a lot of these men, they become so earthbound, they become so attached that they lose all sense of vision and possibility. Basically, what we call a human animal is not what we think of like an animal, like an elephant or like a cheetah. A human animal is very imbalanced. It's like a kind of, we see it as a neurotic animal. When we look out in the wild, these animals, the elephants, the wolves, they're all really balanced. But us, when we are just solely that flesh, our heart is the center of our universe. And when we are not accepting of that, what happens is we can never find our center. We can never find our instinct, our self-trust, and our self-responsibility to our creative will and our vision for this lifetime. So a part of getting into that heart is being vulnerable, is expressing yourself, is standing up for yourself, is creating those boundaries within yourself, is getting very clear with yourself that your functionality is not to just be some sort of roaming fleshy person that just gives everybody a bunch of lies and then just is still confused and scarcity and still just kind of caught in this earthbound realm of just being ugly, you know? That's not what we're here to, especially as men, and I've seen this, you know, what's happening is men are to, sex is, it is to up level. It is to raise the self-worth of the woman, not to make the man's ego feel a little bit ballsy. No, because when a woman, again, this contract with man that goes on, actually I've seen men who have like sort of like a black film in their arc line, and it back actually can take like almost, it decreases their magnetism as a man, because women have more magnetism. So when you make a woman feel like crap or whatever it is that you dumping onto the woman, that contract wise, even with yourself, okay, what happens is a man can lose a lot of his magnetism, and a woman can greatly be destroyed by a man who basically just completely takes down her self-worth. Just completely takes down herself. Women can be destroyed by such sexual encounters, and man can like lose their magnetism on the arc line, can shrivel up incredibly. So man is to help woman elevate herself. And culturally, everyone on this planet, we don't really see much of that going on. Okay, I see a lot of people having sex and it's hot for the moment, but then a lot of times, the woman's, over time, she starts to think less of herself, and she starts to feel like, she's not worthy. And then over time, when a man has a lot of these sexual kind of encounters, he starts to get more confused, okay, and he starts to get more indecisive about his own creativity. He's actually, men over time lose their creativity if they have too much of, I call, sort of like spreading the seed everywhere, as Nikola Tesla would say. He was kind of like, a little funny like that, right? So the seed, the semen of a man is actually his precious gem. And that's what I said, when you make a contract, when you're just putting your seed into these women, you really have to think, do I want to have a piece of me carried with this person? Because we're starting to realize that semen does actually connect with your DNA. Either, you have a baby or not. We're starting to realize, as a woman, the men that you've been with, their whole, like, we could say, their arc line, whatever's in their arc line, which is their ancestors and, their karma and all that kind of thing. It actually, the semen has a code, and it can interlock with your own DNA. So you have to really think, that's a contract. You're making some sort of, like, agreement on, like, even a cellular level, that I would like to have a piece of you with me. So, okay, especially as a woman, it's a stronger sort of spiritual or energetic, you can say, effect than, let's say, like a man. But with a man, what can happen is, if he cannot elevate his sexual energy, okay, and it just keeps it like here, just keeps it like just really heavy, like heavy here in this, you say, this lower just sex energy. What happens is, it just creates a weight. He gets more weighted, and then denser, and then denser. And the reason why, as men, we don't want, as you men, you don't want to just stay in that dense. You want to move it up. You want to move it. You want to move it up. Okay, into your heart, into your soul, and into your nobility. Because the men I've seen who are just flesh have no nobility. When you are just a facade, it's a free-for-all. And when I mean free-for-all, it's like, you have such scarcity, like, I don't care, like, what I do, I'm just gonna work hard and get what I want. And it's like that. It's like real ugly kind of, I've seen these kind of men, and it's like, oh my Lord. And they have all of these sort of contracts with women that are all like bad endings, a lot of tumultuous, things, and just very unloving things. And like, again, the load energetically of all of these sort of contracts with all these women, it's like really heavy duty. Okay, like a skeletons in the closet to hauntings kind of thing. And the greatest lesson for men, I would say, is will. Women have will. We've already mastered will, because we came through the patriarchal age. Now men, their will is basically down, because they went through the patriarchal age. And for men, it was a free-for-all. From Roman period to now, men could get away with anything, basically. While women, we had to really use our will, because we were tried, and we were tried, and we were tried. One little thing, you're stoned. One little thing, you're stoned. As women, we were shamed in so many ways. Shame is heavy on the woman right now. Heavy. So a part of the collective contract man and woman has for each other is that woman has an agreement that I'm going to really open up my expression. I'm going to, work on my self-mastery. I'm going to become the goddess again. That's my contract I make to myself, and why I'm coming to earth and taking on this feminine body is because I want to reinitiate the womanhood into, we can say, a goddess of high levels of wisdom, high levels of creativity, high levels of creative will, or willful projection. And man's, you could say, his collective agreement in coming into that masculine body is to up level his his um his flashy self, okay, and to support the woman with her journey, So again, when a man really is supportive of the woman's her spiritual journey, we could say, and he really uses his will to overcome this fleshy sort of scarcity and desperation and all this facades and this whatever thing that's really heavy in the man from this patriarchal age, what happens is a man will really come into nobility and a woman will really come into integrity. And that was the ancient times on planet Earth. We talk about before the patriarchal age, even before what we know as the ancient mythology in India. There was a time period when man was very noble. He was very much functioning at his heart. And woman was very visionary. She was a lot functioning big time in her, you could say, her third eye or her arc line, her aura. The woman would vibrate the cosmos. Her aura was so bright, luminous, expansive, like way beyond the man. A woman actually has the capacity to have an aura, expansive aura that can be, we could say, even 10 feet more than a man's aura. That is the power of a woman who has integrity and has a high level of self-worth through emotional maturity and spiritual growth. Basically self-mastery. And how a woman really obtains that self-mastery is working on, we can say, her, the higher chakras. But again, we're doing the whole thing. As women, we represent the total picture. So we represent the land and the sky. Well, men basically represent the land. They are the guardians, they're like environmentalists to the land. While we represent, again, vibrating the cosmos, the sky and the land. Okay, so, and that is our collective contract we make with ourselves. Now, when we make these little, I like to say these, again, in sex, like when men are having sex with women and they're just, when we are stripping intimacy, vulnerability out of it, and it's just like a filler to fill a void within us, we have to really think, do I want this energy to be to be filled up in a part of me, to fill a part of me? Because right now, especially in these, even the OSHA, orgy stuff, and everybody's having sex with everybody and kind of thing, everybody in that community looked very, nobody had a sense of like, this is my authentic self. Nobody had a sense of sovereignty with themselves amongst all of this sort of confusion, okay? So a part of like coming into this space in this physical body is that we really want to ignite our sattvic record. We want to really awaken our creativity, our originality, we really want to go deep with our soul's history, go deep with our soul's mastery. And a part of that is creating contracts or with other people, okay, that is really going to bring us closer to our authenticity. And closer to our authenticity as a man is not just keeping it, where you can just get away with things, because men have gone away with things for so many thousands of years. Let's be honest. So if it's some sort of relationship where you feel like you're getting away with something, that's not it. And that's the will. If you have the will, men will actually go very far in a lifetime. But if men don't have will, they're always going to be seduced and tempted, and because it's out there. Women are used to being like having to like use sexuality to get what they want. So right now, men are greatly tested because you can go for that. But a lot of times, a lot of men, I've seen them in their aura, they're still gone nowhere. Emotionally and spiritually. They're still in the facade. okay, and the scarcity and the desperation and like the lack of creativity and this, so with men becoming noble, men must cherish and preserve women. And a part of how a man can get into that place to do that is he has to shed all of this, what do you call, flesh. Okay? Because man is taking on so much flesh. Competition is not a bad thing with men. But when we have competition with a means of belittling and destroying each other, that's when competition becomes a fleshy society. And we see that, right? So, a noble man is a man who has the creative ingenuity to engineer an environment around him that is fruitful, that is prosperous, and that is supportive of this whole ecosystem, the bigger picture, not just your little, like, the bigger picture. And when a woman has integrity, her expression, it brings paramount, I like to use that word, paramount inspiration when she has integrity. Woman is inspiration. She is the muse. She is a goddess. She is beauty. Beauty that brings everything together. While man in his nobility, he represents like, okay, I have the creative in my sight, and I'm going to engineer this environment so that it can be fruitful and supportive of the bigger total ecosystem. And that is what's fulfilling. That's fulfilling. So again, at the end of the day, I've mentioned this before, what's really the greater sort of focus for this planet at this time is on the women. The men had their time, they didn't, do so well. It was a free-for-all in the patriarchal age, and we're still seeing that. That's a free-for-all, just do whatever you want to whoever you want. There's no consequences. No consequences. But now what's happening is now, we're starting to see this planet, okay, nobody's going to save us but us. We're starting to see the consequences, and the planet's getting so fast because the vibration is really up-leveling and getting to a higher vibration that a lot of this whole free-for-all thing is really coming to a head. And it's making people, especially men, really stuck creatively. Like emotionally, like blocked, and expression is like vulnerability, intimacy. The facade is really creating this sort of like tension within this man energy. Okay, so with a woman, again, it's the focus is on her now. Okay, men, again, it's dominated by men. Any industry you name of is vastly dominated by men. Let's just be honest. Okay, preferably white men. Okay, so again, men, it seems like the focus is on them when we look at it like, like TV or, film, but really, spiritually, the women are being given the energy. They're being given the higher energy, the woman. Okay? Because she's the one that's actually going to get us to break through this sort of dilemma that we've been in. The woman is going to get us through the cold depression. It's going to get us through emotional bankruptcy, this feeling of abandonment, this feeling of great disconnect, feeling of loneliness, lack of creativity, low self-worth, a lack of vitality, you name it. It's not these big head men who are, running whatever industries. No, usually the big industries are they're not very inspiring. like these films and these music, it's not moving, it's not soulful. Okay, because really the leaders that are going to be coming on the rise moving forward, that are actually going to feed the younger generations with what they truly need, which is they need guidance, wisdom on how they can really see themselves through in this life, and not just until 25 and then they just sort of like, okay, I'm just supposed to live this life and just smoking my weed and drinking alcohol, and I have, affairs, and I have these, dead end jobs and dead end relations. I mean, that's everywhere you see on the TVs and the music. Ooh. What's really going to feed them, I'm going to say it's going to be the femme. Now, it's not necessarily women, who have breasts and, vagina. It's the feminine energy. The feminine energy is what the universe is giving. The feminine energy, the higher, you say higher energy, which is it is their time. You can say this feminine energy, women particularly, to lead in a way that she's never led before. She's never been allowed to lead, but now she's starting. She's starting the process of being a leader, because again, these men I've seen like too easily seduced and tempted, too easy, just too easy, and not just every man, but there's pretty good group, too easy. I like the whole saying from I sell my grandma for a Tic Tac kind of thing from the Anaconda movie. And that's not, because what's happening on the planet is we really have to step up into leadership. We really have to have a creative will, because amongst all of this disease and this confusion and this unfairness, imbalances, we have to have a very strong center, very strong, or we're just gonna like fall off and then just go tumbling down. Okay, so part of having that center, both for man and woman, is the heart. Woman finds her center first because that's just kind of her natural sort of rhythm. And then man, he usually finds it, we know, a little later sometimes. He has emotional maturity, late 20s, early 30s. Okay, women, it's like right out of the womb. Like, I am meant to be a goddess and meant to, project my heart and to nurture my creativity and to find strength within my creativity to survive the death of the dead flesh that's gripping onto people, kind of thing. Okay, so that I can be honest, forthright, straightforward, expressive, so I can clearly cut through all of the nonsense, the BS that's on this planet that is just not going anywhere, and people know it. It's not going anywhere. Let's cut through it now. And then women, they rise up into that third eye and they become this beautiful, luminous aura. While men, they really remain more so in their body, their heart. Okay, exploring, their aura, but it's mainly woman who has that. Men just kind of stay in this body, a body. And there's nothing wrong with men having that level of assurity and confidence, but if it's at the cost of a woman or their own feminine energy, that's actually basically a fake confidence. So what we're going to see going on is, particularly with men, you do what you say. Okay, you do what you say. So out there in the wild, I want to talk about animals real quick. And animals, like a pack of wolves or a group of elephants. Okay, those two. Okay, or orcas. They are totally self-reliant, self-trusting, and confident. So when I see like we're by the animal self, that has nothing to do with, oh, I'm like a wolf, or just like a primitive animal that we think is lesser than ourselves. No. The animal self of human usually has to do with the anger and frustration that has no resolution. And when that anger and frustration agitates a man particularly long enough, basically that fire of anger and frustration destroys a man. Or what it does is it completely drains his creativity, so much so that he has no way of actually rising up and spiritually maturing and essence growing up. And there are men like, yo, grow up. And it's like, no, that's not going to happen in this life. So a part of what we can say what's going to really help us to move forward, again, is the feminine energy, the woman of this planet, having the strength within their heart, having the strength within their vision to not allow this competition of like destroy you. I just like, why is this weird? It's not reality. Competition in the wild with animals is not I want to destroy you. It's I want to create harmony, even if, I kill you if I'm a lion. It's called equalizing. It's not let me just go destroy this entire species. It's like that makes no sense to like an animal. The animals, don't do that unless maybe they're rabbit or something like that. So with us as women, what we're being tested and being initiated to, so if you feel like, oh my gosh, like I don't want this weight, I don't want this heaviness, like if all of these, these men, these issues, women with issues, oh my gosh, it's all these contracts with each other that's just all randomly disorganized and unfulfilling and stagnant. Okay, as women, we have to use our creativity more now than ever. Creativity now more than ever. That could be a form of yoga, meditation, art making, whatever it is. We have to use our creativity now more than ever to hold ourselves together long enough for an actual shift, major shift in consciousness to take place on this planet. Because again, shame is everywhere for women. Shame is everywhere. Even right now, expressing this, trigger people. People are like, oh, wacko or witchy or that kind of thing. But let your creativity dominate your aura. Let it dominate your aura if you're a woman. Okay, when your creativity prevails in your aura, okay, let it dominate your aura. Let it be let your aura be this energetic, enthusiastic, creative force of projection out. Let it be that, because that is the future of this planet Earth, not these little, facade-y, fake sort of scarcity people. No. Okay, that's the force, that creative aura, that creative projection that we've worked on is actually going to move us into a new self-concept. Because right now we are desperate. We're hungry for a new self-concept, because our self-concept is really low vibe. It's really negative. Our self-concept is from mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, the daughter, so on and so on. So we're really looking to reinvent our identity, and a part of reinventing our identity is that we have to use, as a woman particularly, our creativity immensely. And as a man with a man's identity, what happens is he has to move beyond the flesh and get into a soulful person, who's forgiving and acceptance, and I'm articulating, expressing, I'm being vulnerable, I'm overcoming this grip of shame and judgment, and I'm, woe me, victim, and have so much victim, woe me kind of thing, pity party. So we have to move beyond that. We have to cut through the BS of why we're not, being who we are. That's all we want, is to be who we are. And naturally, when you be who you are, your aura is going to be filled up with so much positive self-concept the wealth of the universe is going to come to you because you are attractive. Energetically, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. Attractive as in you are beauty. You are beauty. So when I look at the long haul, I see a lot of women who, or again, they're just still thinking like, in order for me to get what I want, I have to like do these things that I don't want to do, and it takes away from who I am. The long haul, these women are going to come to a wake-up call like, I am nowhere. Like, I'm not getting anywhere, because the planet is shifting so rapidly. The next decade, 2020 onward, like 2030, it's a game changer. Because the world does not support, especially a fake woman. It cannot support that. An emotionally immature woman, this planet will not stand for that. And the world will do anything it can to get that woman on a path of self-mastery, self-love, self-acceptance. Because she's the one that's going to really decide what kind of paradigm we're going to parent on this planet. Are we going to parent the paradigm of scarcity and low energy, lack of confidence, lack of creativity, or are we going to parent a different paradigm, a different self-concept, where we don't have to fake and lie to keep something going that is taking away from us? So the great question in asking yourself, is this bringing more to me? Am I feeling more soulful because of this? Or am I feeling more like it's taking away from myself? Am I feeling more kind of like I'm moving away from my sense of harmony, my sense of rhythm, my sense of balance, my sense of equilibrium? Because an unbalanced person is not a prosperous or creative person. Balance is creativity. That's why nature is the most creative life energy on this planet, because there's balance. Even if it's aggressive or seeming violent at some times when the storms and all that. So we have to really ask ourselves, is this challenging me to be myself? Or is this sort of whatever encounter I'm having, is this creating more confusion and more sense of disconnect with my own self and my own life and my own soul? And when men particularly begin to ask that question and really have the will to really stand for it, whoa. That's a man who has it in him now to move into his heart and to manifest a higher vibration that's actually going to be more satisfying than the whole fleshy kind of like temporary sort of feelings of pleasure that always quickly fade out, because he's not even, there's no sense of coming into the fullness of myself. It's very dissatisfying to feel like I'm not even coming into the fullness of who I am. It's very boring. Life becomes boring. It's dissatisfying. It's very just unresolved for a lot of men. And I've seen it's like unresolved and just really stagnant and just not energetic is who we are to be. Energetic implies you have vision, you're visionary, you're creative, you know how to assert yourself, you know how to express yourself, you know how to be vulnerable, you know how to be intimate, you know how to apologize, you know how to rise above, you know how to make peace, you know how to let go. That's energy. We're here to be energetic, not... I see a lot of people like that. I'm like, what is going on? What are you doing? Okay, energetic is when basically we are working on what the universe gave us. We got this flesh and this vessel to fill it up, to carve it out. Carve it out. Don't let your piece of clay, your big piece of clay, just be a bunch of blah.
No, carve into it. Get deep. Get into the tissue. Get into the psyche. Get into the psychology. You know? With any piece of, wonderful Michelangelo, okay, Michelangelo, it's like, it's majestic because you could see he really worked hard. Like, he really was devoted. That's what you need to see your body as, a piece of big clay. You don't want it to be a blob that's half finished and looking wanky and imbalanced and like looking immature and, foolish. You want it to look like, oh my God, like, oh, and that's what we have. Our body vessel is like clay. No matter what your body's given, you do have the will and you do have the creativity, the vision, as Michelangelo, the vision to carve new things and to take out old things and to put it into something that is really going to show you the whole world and you, your heart. This is who I am. This is me. The version of me that actually is most energetic, most alive, and most ecstatic, and most capable of being an accomplished person. And that accomplishment is your vibration in the way that could be you make money, or you're good at school, or you study, or you in the community, or you in your projects, if you're an entrepreneur, your business, whatever it is. It brings the environment inspiration. It brings the ecosystem a chance to move more into a soulful reason to exist rather than a fearful lack of confidence, unresolved, painfully continuing on and on and on sort of victimhood. So when you really are like Michelangelo, any painter, artist, or writer, whatever, creative song, poetry, usually what you do, you're like, oh, like, yes, at all costs, like, I'm really going to see this through. I'm going to see this body through. But a part of how we do that, and what is the mantra that drives us, is our self-concept. So the first thing as a man and a woman is to reinvent your self-concept from, I am afraid to be vulnerable, and I'm afraid to share my inner self, because we all have an inner self, because I'm afraid, I can't trust it. You can't trust the world. Trust yourself, not the world, okay? It's too imbalanced to just trust the Tom, Dick, and Harry's walking down the street, okay? Trust yourself. I'm too fearful to open up because of my past. Just be vulnerable. The best thing, the tongue and the heart share the same cellular tissue. So it's liberating to make that connection between the tissue of your heart and the tissue of your tongue, the cellular tissue. There's something liberating about allowing this to open, like the tongue. The tongue is what we call it in the yogic science, it's about your psyche. So when you speak your heart, you actually are lightening the load of your psyche. You're letting go of any sort of tension that you're hoarding, hiding, harboring in your psyche. You're allowing your heart to be your voice of reason, rather than when you're just, you ignore, you block it, and you just speak. Usually people don't speak. When they block their heart, they don't have much to say, or they don't trust themselves to say, so they don't say anything. And what happens is when you don't express and be vulnerable and intimate and really go deep, and your heart never gets to truly expand, and its electromagnetic field never really gets to truly open up and become extremely magnetic and wise and visionary. So any teacher, the yogi, the guru, the saint, the archangel, the angel, the reason that they have such
spiritual divination. When I mean divination, like alchemy, like they can spiritually like alchemize any darkness into a new dawn, is because they have this dominating heart frequency that isn't, little girl sort of wayflower in the field, just my heart. It can be that, but it's also that heart of okay, come at, I can cut through. I can cut through your nonsense so we can get to a voice of reason that's actually going to fill us up, bring more of who we are to ourselves, so that we can experience on this planet Earth a sense of completion. So any Tao, Confucianism, Lazu, you name it, it's in Buddhism, there's this thing about coming to completion. And I feel a part of coming into the completion is coming into your fullness. And a part of fullness is we have to up level, and we have to emotionally mature and spiritually mature. And a lot of us resist it, or we ignore, and we deny, but we can do that for lifetimes, but we always return back to that, because in order for us to truly, you can say, ascend or feel complete, is that we have to come into the wholeness. And wholeness is taking everything that life has given us and make it into art, make it into creativity. Every destructive thing that's ever happened, whatever lifetime, is use your creative will to come into the compassion of your breakthrough. We are here to have a breakthrough. And we will always be tested and tried and tested and tried, because the universe wants us to have breakthrough. And the moment we really want to have a breakthrough is the moment when we really begin to activate higher levels of creativity, spirituality, and energetic strength to stand our ground as a divine being, not as a fake sort of weird thing, as a divine being, as a sovereign, knowledgeable, self-trusting being that is making agreements and contracts with people, either sexually, friendship-wise, that is for, I want to add more to life, not add more to my flesh. Life, I'm going to add in life. In order to really feel life, you have to be energetic. You have to be light of a load. You can't experience life when you have a hoard house. When you have all this flesh around you, it's like heavy. It's like you're like, what? You can't have fun because you can't even let loose because you have all this flesh. It's like a hoard house inside your body. You have to be able to add more to your life. So every connection should be an opportunity for you to strengthen what it means to be vulnerable, what it means to be intimate, what it means to be authentic, and what it means to see yourself through. The version of you that is most creative and that is wanting to become the beauty of the universe, the wealth of the universe, the knowledge of the universe, and have the protection to hold it together. So I'm going to leave you guys with that.